All right, we are back. Dynasty Trades in 5. I'm Clay.
I'm Shane.
And I am good Juju for this video. Or maybe bad. We'll see what Shane thinks.
Love it. Love it. Good transition. Yeah, so we're talking about Juju Smith-Schuster. Definitely ranks top 5 on my I want to have a beer with list. But is he still good at this fantasy football thing? He might get a little value bump here when he gets a new contract somewhere, right? Shane, you're up first. I know you love you some Juju too.
I feel like that's what we said last year, right? He's going to move to a new team. He's going to have a better situation. Everything's going to be fine. Like, there's no reason to panic. Like, you know, you don't put on the oxygen mask just yet. Juju's just fine. I'm done with saying Juju's just fine. I'm more ready to say that Juju's just a wide receiver too. That's okay, right? There's nothing wrong with wide receivers twos. The world needs them. You know, we don't want them as much as we want wide receiver ones or care about them as people or players as much as we do our wide receiver ones. But I think he can still hold wide receiver 2 value. And you can probably get him for wide receiver 3 prices unless you're getting him from someone like you or me, who's still holding on to the hope that, you know, well, he's still young. And did you see what he did back in 2018, which wasn't that long ago, except that it'll be 4 years come 6 months. We've seen what he is without an actual alpha. Like, you know, an elite alpha, like an alpha of the alphas, Antonio Brown. Without him there, Juju was a glorified running back. And we can blame Ben, right? And that's the easy thing to do is like, well, his quarterback sucks. Well, Deontay Johnson's quarterback sucks. And Deontay Johnson has balled out for 2 years in a row now. So Juju's got to take a little bit of the blame. If I can get them low, get them cheap, fine. If someone wants to trade me Juju and they take Jeff Wilson for the playoff run, I'm all for it. But I'm probably not going to be paying anything near what I would have paid 2 years ago for him, obviously.
So a couple numbers on Juju. So he's wide receiver 36. But a few things that stick out here. He's obviously wide receiver 36 now, but that's pretty much held steady all year. I was surprised when I looked that up because after he went down, it was like there was no market for him. Every league I had him, I was willing to basically pivot off of Juju for any other wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. I got a couple deals done, but a lot of the times it was just like, yeah, just not interested in this guy. And, you know, he went back to Pittsburgh. And people are like, well, I don't know why he's going back to the Steelers because basically they have another guy that just did a lot of the stuff that he did better. So why would he go back and then compete with Deontay Johnson, who we've already talked about on a video with him about how he's been able to command targets. 7.49, though, that's how many targets Juju's average per game for his career. Projects to be about 130 a season, which is fine. That's perfectly fine for a wide receiver 2, like Shane said. Maybe asset, top 25 wide receiver asset. And he's going to also have to battle some of these rookies, too. Like, we're going to get to the point where it's like, okay, do you want the wide receiver 4 in the class or Juju? The wide receiver 5 in the class or Juju? So I think that's probably the tier where he's at. I don't think he's worth a first, but I could see with the right landing spot where people are paying late firsts, early seconds for him when they know they're going to have to draft a rookie receiver with one of those picks.
Even before he got hurt, he just looked slower. He just looked like he couldn't get separation like he used to. I don't know. He just didn't seem to have that juice. But what would you take, the 206 or Juju right now?
Juju.
Yeah, I think the fact that we've waited are better. So that's a tough one. I think I'd probably go with the pick there. Juju or Fournette.
The correct answer is Juju. I'm not saying that's what I would take. I'm saying the correct answer would be Juju.
I think the correct answer is if Fournette re-signs with Tampa and he's in the same role, it's easily Fournette. It's that the risk is on both sides. You know what I mean? They're both could end up being a disaster and both could end up being a big value boom.
So these days, a guy who's getting a lot of hate, maybe because he's not good at football, as Shane would say, but who would you rather have, Courtland Sutton or Juju?
Juju.
Yeah, that one was in my mind before you even said it was Sutton.
Judy's still right, but again, their quarterback situation just doesn't lend itself to ever being rectified. And now, of course, Aaron Rodgers ends up there next year, he's going to be a wide receiver 1. I'm going to go with Judy.
Yeah, I think that the Broncos are one of those wild card situations where literally if they end up getting Wilson or Rodgers or Watson, it's like you just wish you had everybody on their roster because you'll be able to sell for a